As you guys know, I am a cashier, therefore meaning I work customer service. There is something that I don't believe I have ever really addressed on this channel, and that is the process of conducting an interaction when the customer's card declines. I'm just going to mention the kinds of scenarios I have experienced and, of course, my opinion on them. The first thing you need to know is that for whatever reason, people do not know how to transition from one terminal to another. Some of them get confused. They're like, every place is different. Which button do I press to not input a PIN number? Which button is okay? Even though the keypad reads okay and it's colored green, the screen itself takes the shape of the button. Some places even go as far as coloring it as a green circle, and the keypad below matches that green circle. There's just a lot of reading that is not taking place. That even happens with promotions. If there is a sale, all you see is 50% off, and you think that it applies to everything that's on the shelf. You don't consider that some promos are applicable only for certain brands. Therefore, you come up to the register and the price doesn't match what you expect. And lately I've been asking them to walk me over to the item because I know that some places have a bit of a confusing way to display signage. Sometimes the price is above the product as opposed to below. That I can understand. But if it's an outrageous price difference, I have to investigate it. And if I have the time to do so myself, I'm going to. So anyway, there's that. When it comes to the terminal, it's amazing how you don't remain fixated on the terminal. I fixate my gaze on my computer screen and nothing unless there's a fire or a shooting or something catastrophic like that can ever take my gaze away from it, because I want to confirm that the screen transitions like it's supposed to. It prints the receipt, and that's the universal sign that you have paid. But sometimes I get people who the machine is asking them for cashback, and all I do is go, is it asking you another question? And then they go, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not paying attention, or I need to read. Or sometimes they just tap the card and they don't put their PIN in. Unlike credit, the good thing about it is once you tap or do your Apple Pay or insert the chip, it processes automatically because it's not gonna ask you for a PIN. Your attention span is utterly terrible. Now, it's time to discuss when a card actually declines. So when a card declines, I immediately tell them, do you have a different card? And they go like, oh, did it not take? And I'm like, no. Would you like to try again? If it's something that appears like it might be a register hiccup based on the message that the register gives me, I suggest that they try again. But for the most part, I like to say right off the bat, do you have a different card? Because it usually tells me insufficient funds. I don't want to embarrass them, but if I have to communicate to them that it's because they don't have enough money, I'll lean in closer to them and in a lower tone be like, oh, it's telling me that you have insufficient funds. And I do that out of courtesy because the person behind you doesn't need to find out your business like that. But other times it's that video I made years ago about food stamps. I have had two people this week be so extra about food stamps. I tell you your total. After the cashier tells you the total, you're pretty much ready to process your card. You don't need to discreetly wave it at me or try to attract my attention to show me that it's an EBT or whisper that it's EBT. Just run the card. Just try it. I'm not sure what places need to know what kind you're doing. I know that there are places that ask you, are you doing credit or debit? I cannot tell you when's the last time I experienced that. It's been years because the machines, of course, keep getting better. But I find that the EBT people are just embarrassed about it for some reason, and I don't get it. If you have to use EBT, you have to use EBT, period. Nobody gives a shit. And even if someone is judging you for it, that person who's judging you, do you know them? Do you have a relationship with them? Do they pay your bills? Clearly not, if you're having to rely on contributions from the rest of us to get by, right? I'm just saying, if you're not embarrassed to fill out the application for food stamps, you should not be embarrassed to be out here using it. But then again, I know that's me, and my attitude seems to be significantly different from what everybody else displays out here. But anyway, those tend to be conversations that get tricky without any need whatsoever. Well, 3 shifts ago, I had this lady with like a $350 order, and I tell her, well, your total is, I forget the exact number, let's say it was $352.18, and her card declines. And I say, do you have a different card? And she's like, can I get a receipt? And I'm like, it declined. Do you have a different card? And she's like, that's weird. It shouldn't do that. Let me try again. It declined. Do you have a different card? And she's like, this is ridiculous. I know there's enough money in there. So then I revealed to her that it's telling me that she has exceeded the allowable limit. Basically, let's say that you have a $1,000 limit on how much you can spend in a day. Well, the register was saying that that's what was happening with her. And I get how this can be a little trippy because it's only like 9 a.m. in the morning. Where have you been when places nowadays open like between 8 or 9? Why are you already that deep in the abyss, right? But yeah, I just communicated it to her. I'm like, well, maybe your bank hasn't posted it yet. I know we had a holiday in between all that, so maybe some of it is just catching up. I don't know your terms, but I asked her if she needs me to save it or if she would like to try a different method. And she said, well, this is the only card I have. So yeah, I'm going to need you to save it. And I'm just going to step over here and call them. Took care of that. She was on the phone with the guy still. When she came back to try to pay, it worked. She didn't share, of course, what happened. I didn't ask because I don't care. But that is something I have been observing a lot lately, especially with the EBT payers. If you're paying EBT and your total is too great for the balance that you have on your card, you have to tell me exactly how much is there or the computer's gonna decline. It doesn't do a partial payment of, well, your bill is 200, your EBT only has 150. It'll take 150 and leave a balance of 50. It doesn't do that. It'll just outright decline. You have to know how much is left on it, or after it declines, fortunately, my register will print the end balance. For some reason, it automatically does that. I hand it to the customer and I tell them, would you like to examine how much you have left over? Given that it's EBT, it shows me, and then they look at it and then they're like, yeah, I guess I can run it for the exact amount that's left. And then I'll look at it and be like, okay, so what you have left in here is 149.99. So that's what I run it for. And then 5001 is going to be the rest that you owe. But stay on top of your finances. Stay on top of your status. Some people legit come out here not knowing. And for some reason, if I tell them that the machine declined, they're asking me for the receipt. And I'm like, there is no receipt when your transaction has been declined. And then other times, I'll be scanning their entire order, and then at the end, they'll be like, so I actually cannot exceed, I don't know, $80. How much is my balance right now? And I'm like, 120. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to put some stuff back. This, that, and the other, and fucking hell. Why couldn't you say that in the beginning? Or better yet, how could you not math this before you came up front and be like, oh, realistically, these are the only things I can afford? Maybe taxes are gonna kill me. That's fine. I'll just put one item back so that I can be within the limit. Because I understand that sometimes you may estimate that you're going to spend, say, $60, but the taxes is like an extra trivial amount. You have to take that into account. What I do when I'm not sure if I can afford something is I always say to myself, tax is going to be $10. Even though taxes are trivial, if you buy food, it's like a super small percentage, just a few cents. Or if you're buying things like supplements, tend to be on a different tax. category for some reason. So those are going to be a little higher. But if I'm buying any of that for whatever reason, I just tell myself, even if I'm buying one thing that's a supplement that's like $15, $20, I'm going to round up and say that my taxes are going to cost me $10 extra. So instead of paying 15, I'm going to be paying 25. Instead of paying, I don't know, 30 for these vitamins, I'm going to pay 40, something like that. I just feel like $10 is a safe number to round your tax expense, but it's usually significantly less than that. Describing to a customer that their card has been declined is one of my least favorite interactions, but I think the most important thing you can do is not entertain them. If they have trouble accepting it, or they don't have another payment method, no matter what, I'm gonna have to call my supervisor over anyway so they can take their stuff and put it back or hold it and refrigerate whatever needs to be refrigerated, right? But I just want to understand why the people whose cards decline, your first reaction is to be in utter denial. I have had people in the past, many years ago, I had this guy, his card declined, and he had maybe like a $200 order or something. And I was like, oh, that card didn't work. Would you like to try a different one? He's like, this is ridiculous. There's over $20,000 in this card. I don't care. I didn't ask. Do you have a different one? Because your $20,000 card is not processing. It may be blocked. It may be expired. That's another thing I see a lot too. When you have an expired card, why do you not instinctively throw it the fuck away? Why are you keeping it with you? Another thing people do is they'll try to run a card they haven't even activated yet. It still has the sticker that it hasn't been activated yet. And even though it has not been activated yet, you're still trying to run your expired ass card. Usually the bank, at least in my experience, my bank will send me a new card a month before the expiry. And somehow you're able to ride that month with your old card, and then it expires on you and you still haven't activated the fresh one. I don't know about you guys, but as soon as I see that envelope that's unmarked, I know what's in there. I tear it open, I dial the number, and I activate it, and that's it. And I will completely cut to shreds my old card and dispose of it. It's not useful anymore. So yeah, you guys, that's pretty much it with this topic. That's pretty much gonna be my venting and rambling. Stay on top of your shit. It's actually quite cool, attractive, and better for you to be a responsible individual with your affairs and finances. Because seriously, I don't understand the people who do not memorize phone numbers, license plate numbers, the full names of important people in your life, your bank account balance, your social security number, things like that. I don't know what y'all do with the space that you have here in your noodle, but you need to figure it the fuck out. It is not hard. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on this topic. Are you one of those people who cannot keep up with your personal info? And what is your reaction? Are you in utter denial? For me personally, I had my card decline on me one time that I can recall, and it was because that was when I had freshly gotten my credit card. And I had forgotten. The design of my credit and debit card was very similar back in the day. The only thing that was different is that on the front, of course, it read credit, like on the right side, and debit, respectively. But the background was the same, the logo was the same, the decoration was the same, the color was the same. And I guess the slight variation on the design, now that I think about it, was that one of them had like a sun ray kind of effect, but the other one had like a glittery effect going on in the background. But like I said, the color was still the same, and I accidentally ran my debit when I meant to run my credit because, of course, back then I didn't have money. And yeah, that was innocent mistake. I can understand making that kind of mistake. But that was my first and only time doing that, because after that, I said, well, I'm not going to need to run my debit really ever again unless I'm somewhere that I cannot perform a transaction like that. Say, I know for a fact that paying my rent is like that. For that, I actually use my bank account. And then for money orders, I think money orders need to be paid with debit instead of credit. I think that's what it was, now that I think about it. My last memory running my debit card was for Mom's. Yep, that's what it is. So I understand that there are places that exclusively take debit, but that is a very minimal, innocent mistake. You know what I mean? But yeah, stay on top of your shit. It's important, and it's definitely not cute or quirky when you don't know your shit. It's just irresponsible. All right, I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.